What's up, everybody? It's Sid and Millie back with another episode. We had watched the Austria
Yep.
F1 Grand Prix
Yes.
this weekend, and the race was today, so kind of wanted to just chat about the weekend overall, any notable moments, and then also just like the race.
Yeah, facts. So Austria Grand Prix, the home of Red Bull, another big weekend in F1, kind of again, another chalk up of who's going to be in control of the championship, who's developing their car better, all of those sorts of things. So there was a lot of anticipation leading up to this weekend coming off of the back of Barcelona a couple weeks ago. And so, yeah, I think we had a ton of high expectations going into this race weekend of what we were going to see. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well, did it live up to your expectations?
For Ferrari, it did not.
Okay.
No, I think kind of exactly what I was expecting with Ferrari kind of happened. Showed up in Barcelona, handled business, got things done, but kind of had a little bit of luck on the day as well. And I think this weekend kind of highlighted that despite the upgrades that Ferrari has brought, there are still some issues with this vehicle. They're still lacking that straight line speed. And still lacking like the power that some of the other teams have. And I think that was made very, very clear this weekend. I think Red Bull was extremely dominant with Max Verstappen. They brought a lot of upgrades to their vehicle for their home race this weekend.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it really highlighted the difference between the Red Bull, which we know has the best engine, the Mercedes, who we know has the most power and performance, and Ferrari, who was allegedly bringing upgrades. Yeah, I mean, I say allegedly because, I mean, it was worse, right? Like, despite the qualifying, the one lap race pace that we saw, which put Lewis and Charles probably further up track than they should have been. Obviously, we know that there was a red flag during qualifying because Max spun out when he was going for his second flying lap. And so that kind of stopped some people from completing their lap time. So Ferrari was in a little bit of a lucky position at the start of the race based on, where they qualified at the end. And yeah, I think that as the race continued within the first maybe 20 something laps, Ferrari kind of got exposed for their lack of pace, their lack of power by these more, performance enhanced vehicles.
Okay, because were they just getting kind of passed left and right, or what was going on?
I mean, for Charles, definitely. For Lewis, he was definitely putting up more of a fight. There was a huge scrap, which was so reminiscent of the past between Lewis and Max Verstappen, as Max was trying to get past, him and Max were racing wheel to wheel, and it was very like throwback vintage Lewis and Max Verstappen.
That's
they were
cool.
side by side at some moments. There was a little bit of closeness as well, but again, like eventually Lewis was able to defend at first, but eventually Max did get past him. At a couple of times in the race that happened where they kind of got close, but Max inevitably did get past him. The first time Lewis was able to keep him behind, and then Lewis inevitably pitted, which let Max go. But then the second time, like Max was able to pass him despite Lewis's defense. So yeah, it was again just very disappointing. Like, both drivers are complaining about things in the car. Both drivers are struggling. And again, they just don't have that pace to really catch up to the other teams. So I think that was a little frustrating overall just specifically for Ferrari. I think, we were expecting engine upgrades. We were expecting to see progression.
From them.
Like this was finally going to be like, okay, can they actually compete with Mercedes for pure race pace? Can they actually put together 60, 70 plus laps at a very strong race pace? And the answer is still no for Ferrari. They still don't have enough to get them across the line, and get them across the line, but also by beating the other teams. And that's really the key. So
yeah, because where did Lewis qualify and where did he finish in the race?
He qualified third and he finished the race in fifth. So again, qualifying worked out in Ferrari's favor with Max crashing. So it was originally going to be a Ferrari 1-2. George snuck in under the alleged double yellow flag. There's a whole controversy around that. But George pulled off the throttle just enough, I guess, to let the FIA, can allow him to keep the pole that he
Dang.
secured.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was where they started. So it was Ferrari
Interesting.
2-3.
Got it.
And yeah, they finished fifth and eighth, or fifth and eighth.
Fifth and
So
eighth. Okay.
so
So
not
Charles fell because he started in second.
yeah, it was just a long, rough day
Dang.
for Ferrari. Honestly, Charles, just didn't have the ability to defend. I mean,
Mm.
he got, of course, close with Lewis, was ready to scrap Lewis. There was one point where they were almost wheel to wheel, and Lewis basically almost had to go off the track to maintain his
Oh my
track position.
gosh.
And yeah, he inevitably passed Charles twice. But at the same time, it was like Charles was so ready to fight Lewis, but then other people were just zipping by him all race.
Dang.
So yeah, he struggled a little bit. And then same with Lewis at the end, despite being on kind of like the fresher set of tires, he wasn't able to catch Piastri. Again, the McLaren just found that
Mm.
performance, and he wasn't able to make up that distance and to get into fourth place. And that was pretty disappointing as well for
Dang.
Ferrari. Yeah.
That is really disappointing.
And I think what it came down to realistically was the heat in Austria this weekend. As we know,
Oh,
a lot of
yes.
European countries are experiencing extreme heat waves right now. Austria being included in that. So it
Okay.
was abnormally warm weekend in Austria. So the tire degradation was terrible.
So
Yeah, it was
bad.
terrible.
Which doesn't help with anything. Like the
Mm-mm.
speed, the turning,
Yeah,
like, ugh.
and then I think Ferrari also messed up on the strategy with
Oh,
Lewis.
okay.
So
How
there was a
so?
moment in the race where there was a virtual safety car.
Okay.
They decided to pit Lewis and put on the soft tires. And as we know, the soft compound it degrades the fastest. It doesn't last for very long. So putting Lewis on a soft tire after just previously putting him in the hard tire, I don't know, less than 10 laps before, it just seemed like a very I like forced decision. The hard tire was supposed to be for the long stint in the race. I understand you were trying to take advantage of the virtual safety car, but in doing so, Lewis lost track position, put on a worse tire, and then wasn't able to make up the ground from the risky move.
Oh,
And then
why
that
did they do that?
I have no clue. And that turned his race from a 2-stop to a 3-stop. So the extra pit stop also ruined Lewis's chances at a podium because it took away his track position.
What?
Yeah. So just like,
Wow,
again, some
yeah,
of these
horrible
pit wall decisions
strategy.
from Ferrari are just like, guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? Lewis was the only person to pit under the virtual safety car. And that really
Really?
says something. Like, I'm not saying, you base your strategy on what other teams are doing, but sometimes in these races, you can kind of tell if something is a good move based on kind of the conjugation of the paddock making the same decision. Because if there is
Right.
a free safety stop that is actually going to enhance people's races, more than one team is going to do it. So the
Right.
fact that Ferrari made a solo move solely for Lewis that cost him track position, that was just silly.
So
In
silly.
my opinion, that was just a silly decision.
Yeah, well, especially if no other teams did the same thing, that just
Yeah,
literally
it speaks
kind of
volumes too.
justifies how you feel about it.
Yeah, it wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary. And the soft tires in the heat did not bring the performance that Ferrari was expecting.
Dang.
So it really didn't give Lewis a chance. He literally had to pass everyone again. It's like he pitted, had to pass people to get back in the running. And then it's like they pitted under the safety car. He had to pass people again because the virtual safety car was super quick.
Oh
So he had to
man.
pass people again to try and get back in position. And then he had to pit again because his tires were cooked because of the soft tire. So it was
Yeah,
just just mind blowing.
why?
Yeah.
Why switch from hard and then almost immediately to soft tires? Because wouldn't the hard tires get kind of like better a little bit over
They
time
last
and then
longest, exactly. So the hard tire is supposed to be the long stint of the race. So, just
that's
the
so
strategy
weird.
was a little bit confusing there for Ferrari, and yeah, I was a little bit disappointed in that.
Yeah.
But overall, Lewis is now in third in the driver standings. So he's still up there. He's still in the running on 125 points. He's still,
Okay.
keeping it relatively close with George and Antonelli. And that's really all he can do overall, score those points and keep racking it up and hope that later on in the season, Ferrari will bring some proper upgrades to actually enhance the vehicle, because
Mm-hmm.
that is what we need to see if they want to actually challenge for this Constructors' Championship.
Right. And
Um,
we hope to see them do that.
yeah, 100%. I think Lewis has proved once again that he has the pace, he has the ability. He was driving like brilliantly today. I was gonna say like a monster, but I was like, nah, I don't want to use anything with
No,
negative
yeah,
connotation because he's the GOAT.
of
But he was driving
course.
with extreme purpose today. He was passing people and doing what he could with the vehicle he had in the weather conditions he had. So yeah, let's hope that next week in Silverstone at his home race, let's hope that Ferrari is ready.
Oh,
So
they're in England.
yeah, going over to England, so yeah, so hopefully it will. I mean, I know it's hot in England right now; they're having a heat wave too, but hopefully it will be slightly cooler in Silverstone. It's
Yeah.
England, so it's most likely going to rain. It rains like once a week there, so
Yeah.
we'd be surprised if we didn't see some weather kind of enhance that one. But yeah, I think overall this weekend, I think Red Bull was definitely probably the biggest winner. Max Verstappen getting on the podium again.
Hmm.
Even though he didn't win, he highlighted the strengths of his car. And obviously, it raises the eyebrow of if he didn't crash in qualifying, could he have even started in a better position to have been challenging earlier in the race? So,
Wow.
so I think Red Bull might have figured something out. I mean, Isaac Hadjar also finished in fifth place. So that
Oh.
was
Ooh, fifth
not
place.
sorry,
I
not
was
in
like,
fifth
wait.
place. He finished in sixth place.
Okay.
So yeah, Hadjar finished in sixth place. So definitely highlighting some progression from Red Bull with the
Yeah.
upgrades they brought. Ferrari, I don't think really made any progress. McLaren made a little bit of progress with Piastri coming in fourth place. So yeah, I think we're seeing things kind of take shape, but I think the upgrades are going to be essential as we progress in the season. They're
Yeah.
going to be essential. And yeah, there was some close racing throughout the whole race. Yeah.
Yes.
Some wheel to wheel stuff, some
Oh.
heart and mouth moments, but
Oh, really?
yeah,
Okay.
I
But there
think
was
so.
only the one like safety car?
Yeah, just the one virtual safety car. I think there were a couple other shutdowns in the race. I mean, Cadillac had a terrible weekend. Both cars
Oh.
overheated and did not finish.
Yikes.
Aston Martin, I don't even know why Aston Martin is still in F1 at this point. They might as well get demoted into F2 at this
Oh
point with the
gosh.
speeds they're putting up. I mean, neither of the racers are anywhere close. So I have no clue what Aston
Yikes.
Martin is working on.
Dang.
But maybe at some point this season they'll join the rest of the paddock and start start competing. But for now, Aston Martin remains just extra cars on the track.
Wow, great. Great.
That's literally all. And
But you said there was some good racing though, some like good
yeah,
close.
yeah, it was close. I mean, Verstappen was catching Russell at the end, and Antonelli was catching Verstappen. So to
Okay.
see the top three finish all within a couple of seconds of each other was pretty intense,
That is
because it was definitely
crazy.
heating up at the end there.
Wow.
But otherwise, I think the middle of the pack, racing throughout, but towards the end of the race, I think it was pretty clear where everyone was going to finish,
Okay.
because Lewis wasn't super close to Oscar
Ah,
towards the
got
end of the
it.
race, and whoever was behind Lewis wasn't super close to him. So yeah, I think the rest of the pecking order was a little bit more what we would expect, but obviously a big win for George Russell getting out of his slump and
Mm-hmm.
actually converting a pole position. So yeah, it was good for his
Yeah,
confidence
good
and
for
and stuff.
him.
So yeah, no qualms there. He deserved it. He caught a lot of flack, but I don't necessarily think Mercedes did anything special to get him across the line.
Got
I think
it.
he started first and just had a solid race. So,
All right.
so yeah, I think just look forward to more teams continuing to build up and upgrade to beat out Mercedes and cause a little bit of controversy. And again, hopefully give Ferrari the ability to
Sneak
slip in,
in.
yeah, sneak in those gaps. But yeah, that was basically all. That was the weekend.
Okay.
I think the heat, huge factor.
Dang, yeah.
There were some drone shots of like Lewis and Max's racing like montage, which was pretty
That's
cool. They were like
cool.
following alongside the track. It felt very movie-esque, I would say.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, kind of gave me inertia too a little bit. It was like,
Oh.
oh, yo. So I don't know. I don't know how I felt about the drone shots, but
Okay.
the action when Max and Lewis was racing, I mean, that's what people want to see. I
Yeah, of
mean,
course.
Lewis he's in form right now, and despite today's result, he's in form and just needs to keep leaning into the form he's in. And I think the results will come. I know the car isn't perfect, isn't exactly where it needs to be or where it's going to be. But if they can continue to take positive steps every weekend, again, I still think Hamilton can stay in this title fight and keep Ferrari in the races, because there's no question that he's Ferrari's main guy right
Yeah, definitely no question about
now.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, those were our thoughts on the Austria Grand Prix, home of Red Bull. It was a very exciting race this weekend. So
Very.
so yeah, we'll be back next week for Silverstone.
Woohoo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so if you made it this far,
Thanks for watching.
we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Bye.